Hello, guys. Stand by for a quick intro.
Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Canby, and this is episode 78 with Alec Soukup of the USA. Alec, in the last year or so, has been on an absolute tear, winning Strongman Corporation Nationals, making the finals of OSG, winning the Arnold Amateur Nationals at 105 kilo, and then winning the first ever Shaw Classic 105 kilo Opens Men Division. So let's tune in with Alec. He's one of my favorites for the OSG podium for 105 kilo World's Strongest Man. So let's figure out, why is he so strong? How he's going to do? How does he feel? And is he ready to take the top of the podium on today's episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast with Alec Soukup of the USA. This week's episode is sponsored by ShinobiBarSports.com, and if you're enjoying the episodes, consider being a member, supporting the channel, and subscribing, getting access to members-only content and all things Can Be Dude. With no further ado, here is Alec Soukup.
All right. Hello, Alec. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Blessed to be here.
Of course, it's very exciting. Whenever I get to do those intros, I usually like to do a big deep dive into the internet, of course, Google, YouTube, and all. I stumbled upon one of your football highlights. So there was a YouTube video of you doing of a whole game, but it's like 225 yards rushing, 2 sacks, 4 touchdowns scored. So I imagine you were a pretty big football player back then.
That was everything back in high school. That was meant everything to me. I was played both sides of the ball, and our whole family was big into football, and meant a lot to us then, for sure.
Now, did you go on and play college ball?
I got several offers, but by the time I got to college, and I even got on with one team, kind of a D2 college here in Oklahoma, it wasn't the same. I didn't enjoy it like I did in high school. So that combination with them not having the degree that I wanted kind of led me away from that, and I kind of stopped pursuing the football aspect of things. But I enjoyed it while it lasted, for sure.
So I imagine potentially Strongman is that kind of competitive void that you filled after football. Now, how did you stumble 100%.
On? I actually stumbled it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say.
My question was,
my brother. I always kind of knew about it. You see it on TV, you see the World's Strongest Man and whatnot. Had no idea about the weight classes, anything like that. And I was actually going into my career that I have now, and my younger brother, Seth, found a gym that had, some stones and a log and stuff like that. And he kept trying to convince me. And I was like, no, that's just not for me. And he's like, they have weight classes and everything. And after probably eight months to a year of him, like, really trying to convince me, I went and trained with him. And after probably 1 or 2 sessions, I was like, oh man, I love it. Like, I hadn't even competed yet. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So entered my first competition at, I think, just broke 200 pounent and signed up for the heavyweight category because all the rest of the categories were full. Went and started from there.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned a little off air that you're 3 years into the sport. So was your first year that you went to OSG? Was it 2022? Was that your first year, or was it 2021?
So my first year was I started late of 2021 was my very first competition. I believe it was September of 2021. And then I didn't obviously know about OSG or anything like that. It wasn't until the following year, and I had heard about the regionals qualifying you for the big stage, and everything was I was determined to get there. I was like, I'm going to do everything I can, to podium at the regionals so I could go, having no idea that I would even do well at the regionals. Ended up winning the regionals and qualifying for my first OSG in 2022.
All right, excellent. That, of course, puts everything together. So, of course, you're fairly new to the sport, but of course, have had a huge impact so far, and of course, a big year. So, OSG is about 4 weeks away now. So, overall, how's training been?
Honestly, training's been really good. Have some nicks here and there with your body, just trying to heal them up, but nothing that's, too concerning or it's going to stop me. We just kind of work around it, trying to heal where things are a little hurt and then trying to move past. But honestly, I'm loving training. Training's going great for me. We're on track and my coaches are peaking me really well so far. So.
And you say, so I know that Frankie Pro does your nutrition, but do you have a regular programming coach?
Absolutely. Colton Rhodes. I've been with him since he was there for my first OSG. So I've had him for almost as long as I've been in the sport, maybe 6 months into the sport. He's a big powerlifting coach. I think he trains more strongman now than he does powerlifting, but he has a lot of pretty successful clients in the strongman world now.
Is that Roadhouse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because he has a question because he asked how you got so handsome, but I imagine with just all the hard training and again, stud high school football player, so that helps a lot. But yeah, we should go over some of the OSG events. But first, we pay tribute to, of course, the greatest of all time, Zydrunas Savickas. Hello, Zydrunas. Good to see you. Do you know Zydrunas is a politician in Lithuania?
I did not know that.
I found that out a few years ago. He's quite,
I did not know that.
He's quite involved. He's quite involved in his community. But events wise, so from what it looks like, if you guys, so right now this year for OSG, they're doing heats. So the men and the 82 kilo women are going around 5 o'clock each day, or at least for Friday and Saturday. So the first two events, it's going to be the log challenge and then the car walk. On Saturday, again, it's going to be at 5 o'clock, the axle deadlift and the sandbag medley. So sandbag medleys consisted of bringing the two sandbags and then, of course, a push right versus the drag that we had a few years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And
no backpack.
And then for Sunday, no backpack. Thank God, no backpack. And then for Sunday, you guys have the wrecking ball hold. Oh, sorry, the sandbag toss, the wrecking ball hold, and the Atlas Stone series. So 7 events in total. What event are you looking forward to the most?
I've always loved moving events. Stones are what made me fall in love with the sport. So I would say probably one of those. But honestly, I'm super excited for the log and the deadlift too. I mean, I love those both. So I'm traditionally never placed at OSG extremely well in the overhead. I've always had to really push at it. But this year, I think I can definitely make an impact on the overhead. I feel like this year. So
yeah, you're ready vipering. Yeah, it looks like you're vipering close to comp weight. So I think that's got to be a smooth transition. Of course, I'm a big fan of Vipers, but I didn't get into Vipers early in my career. It was more later in my career I got really into it. But I think it's one of those things that you want in your arsenals. You want to be able to have good Viper, good push press, good split jerk. So you already got the Viper or that mid-range game going. But that was my guess. I would figure that log would be one of your favorites. And then also Stones. Of course, you did it very well in Stones last year. But I figured that of course, one of those two are going to be your favorites. Kevin Candido wants to know which one is your least favorite that you're looking forward to out of this event.
I think he already knows. It's definitely the bag toss. I train the hell out of it and I'm getting better, but it's one of those it's still inconsistent. So I, put a lot more work into it now than I have in the past. And it was definitely my weakness last year at OSG, placing, I think, the lowest in that event. So We're definitely planning to change the outcome with that one this year, but yeah, that's probably my one that I'm the most worried about.
And then, so last year you took 7th, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Sorry about honk. Give me 1 second, Alec. This has been happening to me on this computer, but I've been freezing up a little bit so I have 2 cameras. I've been trying out this new one that kind of follows you. It was great that when I used it downstairs to film some log session, but for some reason on this computer it kind of freezes up. So sorry about that. So you took 7th last year. So then now there's 7 events. So of course each event gets weighted differently, and you're hoping to do more on sandbag. So again, I think that should up your score a little bit this year. So how do you feel about the wrecking ball hold? I feel like you hear guys like Novikov or Mitch Hooper, saying that it's like the worst event that they wish they never had to do.
It definitely is going to be a pain event. I don't think it will be as much grip. I think it's definitely going to be how much pain can you tolerate? I don't hate it. I've been, just fine in training. Of course, there's the unknown of how heavy it's going to be. I would obviously prefer it heavier, so people don't have to reach that 2-minute mark. But I'll be prepared for whatever. But I think it's interesting. I wish it wasn't. I understand the reasoning why it's in the finals, just because of sheer time. But I don't think it's a finals event. But it, you kind of go with the cards that are dealt. And so that being said, try not to look down on any of the events too much. Otherwise, you're going to get a bad taste in your mouth, and you'll go into it with a sore attitude and you won't do as well. So trying to keep an open mind, and, I'll do what I need to, for sure.
Absolutely. But it's interesting because this year, you normally when you have 7 events, sometimes presses gets doubled up in that 7 events. But this year you have probably a test of each facet, which is good. So of course, on the last day, stone throw, grip, and then
I don't think is the sound on your end, or is it on mine? Well, yeah, I can't hear you at all. My sound's still up. Is it muted?
How about now?
There we go. Yeah.
That was my fault. Oh, wow.
Okay.
So where do we? So interesting. It was on the Ozbot. This Ozbot's been failing me on this podcast, so I might have to change things. But it was good for live streaming. So it's interesting, but I think overall, what I was mentioning before, just you have 7 different events. It's a good test of each area. So I think it's gonna be a good competition. But speaking of competition, let's go over who you be facing. Of course, the first list. So there's about 40 competitors. I can go down the list. I know a lot of these guys. Of course, Gavin Bell, Alexander Bromley, Philippi Dumont Bouchard, Tim Makowski, Nick Hine, Matt McKeegan, John Walton, Aiden Howell, Justin Lloyd, Matt Powell, Thomas Owens, Boyd Francis, Ben Gutsy, Kevin Candido, Stephen Bradley, Adam Kempton, Riley Johns Bushman, Jared Hanner. And then for the second list, Josh King, Cameron Day, Josh Harrelson, Tyler Buxton, Gabe, I just didn't know this because it's Italian, Balesco, oh my God, he's Italian. I can't even say it. BJ Gross, Matt McQuiston, Christopher Othero, Damian Capadoni, Martin Garcia. And then we got our boy, Alec Soukup, Brian Bruce, Gavin Bruce, Nick Stock, Damon Curtis, Darcy Flasca, DJ Doggett, Tyler Pruitt, Kyle Gerrans, Lucas Desroche from Canada, Kyle Noren, Johnny Alimo, Brandon Burley. So 40 guys. Usually, what happens with, I would say, even the competition, because when I did my last OSG in 2021, we had like close to similar numbers. Almost, I think we had like 38 register, but only 24 showed up. Last year in the opens, there was like 50 people registered and only 36 guys showed up to the actual competition. So it would be interesting if everybody shows up. But I think last year you guys had 48 guys competing.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully at least in the 30s, everybody comes up showing healthy and ready to compete. Of course, as you saw in the intro, you're one of my, of course, podium favorites. I think guys like absolutely. So I think guys like a Justin Loy, who has been on the podium before, you can't guess him out. I think McKeegan has been creeping his way up the ladder over the years. He's made the finals the last 3 years. So and of course he looks better every year. So I wouldn't guess him out in terms of potentially knocking on that podium. Of course, you have someone like Brandon Burley, who did very, very well last year. I think did Burley take 4th last year?
Yeah, he took
behind Jeffrey Lee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's, I would say, probably one of the, of course, higher placing returners. And then there's of course, some guys I had to look up. Oh, I forgot about Mr. Hine. Yeah, so of course the PSL winner. Then there's, I was looking at a guy named Josh King. Of course, he's the deadlift. I just started following him the other day. He was the deadlift 105 record holder with 920, which is a huge pull.
Insane.
It's super insane. Christopher Otero. So I met him at ASM, but one of his questions is who do you have in terms of black horses that you're keeping an eye out on that roster that we haven't mentioned yet?
Well, I don't know that he's a black horse anymore, but I've competed. He started pretty much when I started. Johnny Alimo. He will definitely be up there. He is very good, and he's continuing to get better. We've been neck and neck with each other every show that we've done, so he's definitely going to. Who else is going? Obviously, you got the guys that you mentioned that will for sure be up there. No doubts. I'm going to forget something. There we go. Tim, I think will make top 10 again.
Because I remember him. He snuck in there. I think.
Yeah.
There's 10 spot.
There's certain events he's very, very good at.
I know that Thomas Owen has beat McKeegan in the past at like a Europe or Britain shows. Alexander Bromley is a great. Of course, he's a great log presser, so we should see him coming in. My boy Gavin Bell, hopefully he does very well. Stephen Bradley's a great deadlifter. Adam Kempton, of course, a great presser. No circus dumbbell for Adam, but I don't think he's going to mind too much. Matt Powell, of course, always does very well. Of course, I mentioned Kenny Candido as well. And then let's see, just based off of this, Damon Curtis representing Massachusetts. Go Damon. I forgot. I didn't mean to forget Alimo, but just he's.
Oh, there's so many names.
Yeah, he's going to be fighting his last 2 shows.
I mean, there's 30
and it's crazy
guys
to think that the podium's not. I know. And you think about the podium's not returning, so we're missing Jeff Lee, Emmanuel Pascari, and Mr. Dan Hughes. So it's in anybody's game. And then I haven't seen Tyler Pruitt's name in there for a while. So that should be interesting. And then my buddy DJ Doggett, he's a great mover. He's getting better every competition. So yeah, I think it's really anybody's game. But I think the big question is, what's the scouting report on Seth Soukup? Is he ready to go back?
I think he's ready. I'm going to be honest. I think he makes top 10 this year. I mean, he is so much better than he was even last year. And, he's still young, but I think this year he can break top 10.
So you're 26?
No, today's my birthday. I just turned 28. Yeah.
28. Well, happy birthday, Alec. It would be great to catch you on your birthday. So how old is Seth?
Seth is 27.
27. Okay, all right. So only a year apart. So I imagine you guys are pretty close. But the opens, I'm probably gonna do another kind of show regarding the opens. I'm having Guardione on next week, and then I'm also sitting down with Brian Kitchen as well later in the week because he's local to here to Massachusetts. But you have four guys that have competed at World's Strongest Man in that open class this year. So you have Coco from Australia representing France. Yeah. You have you have Oscar Zilkowski from Poland. You have Gabriel Rium from Canada, and then you also have Spencer Remnick. And then you have guys like I was mentioning, Guardione, Kitchen. You have Josh Spurgeon, Tim Buck. You have the world's strongest firefighter, Andrew Burton. So that's 5 Americans, and then hopefully 6th would be Seth, and then you have those 4 placers. And then you also have guys like Reno Nell from South Africa. I don't know if you've seen him, but the open scene is looking pretty strong. Now for you, you're a bigger 105 than I noticed. I know Frankie Pro does a good job with your weight cuts, but do you ever aspire to go into the open?
So I actually get asked this all the time, even from people in our gym, and I haven't given it too much thought, mainly because of my goals in the 105s first. I definitely want all-time goals to win, World's Strongest Man at 105. After that, we'll see. I don't know. I don't have any itches to go into the opens right now, but who knows? I'm a very hungry person when it comes to goals and things I want to achieve. So, take it one step at a time. If I can, win World's Strongest Man at 105, then I'll think about the next step. But as of right now, I don't have any want to go into the open. Did you when you were competing at the 105s?
I'm probably in the same boat. That's a good question. I think I wanted to do what I wanted to do at the 105 level and then move on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of push for me after I won the 105 to potentially go in the opens. I wanted in 2022, I wanted to see how the scene shaked out. But when I was getting hurt from cutting weight and being dehydrated and back problems, I'm like, I think it's time. I think it's my body's telling me that after 10 years of being 105, it was time to go. So I think you'll know. I think we know it's time, but you're still very early in your career. You could potentially even go up at the year 5 or 6, and you still be relatively young for an open class competitor. So I think you have plenty of time in the world. But before we move on to our next questions, we do have to break for a quick Tsunami Bar ad. So
are you ready to shake up your training? Are you ready for your next challenge? Tsunami Bar Sports is here to boost your power, stability, and coordination. Whether you're superloading and using it to target barbell-centric movements or using it for ballistic weighted plyometrics for more sport-specific purposes, the Tsunami Bar has you covered. Our patented and flexible barbell technology is designed to help you improve in all things human performance. Discover the difference at Tsunami Bar Sports today. Visit tsunamisports.com to learn more. Use CANBY10 for 10% off of any Tsunami Bar product, or pause the screen and use the QR code. Now back to the show.
We forgot Aiden Howell in our predictions, so he's probably going to be on the log.
Oh yeah, he's a very athletic person, and he always does well in the weird events too. So I think
absolutely,
I think he'll do extremely
well. Now it's interesting. So we were talking a little bit about, of course, your coach. Of course, the Roadhouse, I'll call it, just for lack of better terms, the Roadhouse. Yeah. So does he coach you and Seth?
He coaches both of us, yes.
All right. Now you and Seth do all your training together too?
Yeah, for the most part. I would say we might miss a day here and there, just depending on our schedules, but we train pretty much 5 days a week together. So definitely blessed and lucky to be able to train with someone who definitely pushes me harder than I would push myself probably. So that's a good thing.
Really? Well, I feel like, the power of brothers. So of course that's awesome to watch. But it's interesting because of course we talked a little bit before. What I've noticed, of course, lately, of course, very strong log, very strong stones. Now are you guys training certain movements to kind of increase to increase stones? Or you guys are big into squatting, other accessory movements, or what does the Roadhouse have you kind of program for you in terms of building up that kind of, let's say, athletic / almost like coming out of the lab strength?
Oh yeah. So he has us do a lot of hip strengthening exercises. So whether that be one block will be, we always squat. First of all, squatting is, I think that's necessary in almost all of your training. That helps with so much, but front squatting will help with your front loads like stones and stuff like that. He'll have us do sandbag picks, but then sandbag hip thrusts, starting with the seated position or whatever, and then you go to a standing position with the sandbag. RDLs I think are huge for stone loads, mainly because you don't get the leverage like a deadlift on a stone. This is something like an RDL is more realistic to the weight you're going to be able to pick up from a stone. So those are some of the things that he has us do, just as an accessory, I guess, to those to stones.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I'd like to hear. Now, do you guys switch up from front squats to back squats, or is it mainly front squats lately in your programming?
No, we switch it up. Also, depending on how far we are out from the show, stuff like that. Is really heavy squats necessary? If not, moderate squats, stuff like that. But due to my knee, I've not been able to, do heavy squatting really at all. Just kind of light rehab stuff. And then we work around it, trying to hit the other things necessary to get those accessories in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very much so. But yeah, I would say if the squat's not in, of course, we're about 4 weeks out. I would say even that's sometimes one of the first movements to go is kind of squats when you get into that last block phase. But in our predictions, we missed another one. Josh Harrelson won USS Nats in the 242 class. The 105s is a thick class. Yes, very much.
So he's someone I don't know who he is.
But yeah, I always love. Well, let's see if he makes a mark, right? That's a good thing. OSG is a good shower of talent. So going into a little bit of some of your kind of fan questions. So the first question is, if you could make a perfect show for yourself, what would it be?
Has to have stones, has to have moving event. I love circus dumbbell, so I would throw probably a circus dumbbell in there. Honestly, axle or log, so I'd probably have 2 pressing events. Standard deadlift heights, whether axle or regular deadlift, either one of those. Love both of them. Yoke, love me some yoke. Normal car, it doesn't matter. Have the yoke in there. I guess if we needed more events, I'm not sure what that is. I think that's 5 or 6 events right there. I think that'd be a pretty good show for me.
That'll be a very, very solid show. I was curious to get through any like the obscure ones, like a power stair, finger fingers.
Yeah. I've never tried finger fingers. Never done it. Power stairs I've done twice now. I love it, but the Shaw opened my eyes to a new level of difficulty on the power stairs. That his were very hard.
But it looked like still kind of a fun event, regardless.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a little more kind of power stairs, especially kind of in the I would say in the weight class level. We haven't seen too much. And I think it could be, sometimes people say, oh, you either have a power stair or a stone, but I feel like you could easily have a power stair.
Both. Yeah, do both.
Yeah. Definitely in this competition. Do you have a favorite vegetable, Seth? Alec.
I'm not a huge vegetable eater, so I guess if I had to pick a vegetable,
Good answer.
One that's not your typical, probably like corn or something like that, or cilantro that might go in tacos or something.
Right. Good answer. But of course, it's good. It's good for the gut. It's good for the greens. Good to get the greens,
yeah.
but it also fills you up to get any of those actual calories that you want to get in for your training. So, like, do you want to put your vegetables in? Who knows? What does Frankie Pro say about vegetables?
He definitely has me eat vegetables. I just don't love them. So he's not as big on the vegetables as he is fruit. Fruit is and I agree with him. Fruits are absolutely necessary.
So my buddy Dane from Massachusetts chimed in. Frankie says corn is a no-go. LOL. So he also works with Frankie.
Okay.
Your brother chimed in terms of the questions. So he says, will you prove yourself to be the best stone lifter in the world this year?
That's my goal. Lee's not going to be there, and I think in my opinion, he's probably the best stone lifter out there in terms of just all around. There's other really, really good stone lifters, not taking anything away from them. So I really wanted to go up against him. But I think there's 4 or 5 other people that are going to really, really challenge that top spot in the stone run. So I definitely, definitely looking to at least run for that first place on the stone run. So
now, and I remember McKeegan when I competed with him, he had a very good stone. But who are the other ones he had in mind? Like Burley, I imagine.
Brandon Burley is very good at stones.
Who else are you thinking?
Johnny Limo is pretty good at stones. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone on the list. There's one other person that I'm thinking of that I cannot remember his name.
You know what I was just thinking about is McQuiston competing? Do we miss Quiston on this list?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
he has.
Matt
okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
He's a very good. He's a very good stone loader. Very good.
Oh, interesting. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. But I think right now you're the guy to beat because Jeffy has. I'm not sure if you watched the ASM predictions that we did middle of the summer, but he's making the move to heavyweight. So
okay, I didn't listen to that one. I thought it was just a rumor. So I don't really spread rumors. So I heard it and didn't say anything about it because I was like, "Tell her hear it for sure." But wow, yeah, that's awesome. Does it? I mean,
so he hopes.
Does he have any plans or anything like that?
Hopes to do OSG 2025. So
okay,
that's his goal. So that he would do well there, and then potentially kind of elevate himself into some of the bigger shows out there. So this is funny. This is one of my friends, but it's a good question. Pizza rolls or bagel bites?
Pizza rolls.
Good answer. So this is more comments, but John Parker says hi. He has you on your podium predictions.
Wow.
A guy named Drew has you, McKeegan, and Johnny Alimo in his predictions. Are you considering the Chaos show for next year? Come Brain.
So I was sent the invite and really still thinking about it. I will say that travel. In September I traveled to Italy, took a trip there, and my travel experience was horrible. So I'm trying to still get past that and understand that not all the travel will be like that. To the point where I couldn't even compete if it was that bad. So we'll see where I'm at also financially and stuff like that. So
sure. So I'm curious now. So what happened on the trip to Italy? Was there a lot of connecting flights?
Yeah, well, on the way there, they lost my bags, completely. Didn't know where they were. So I go into Italy with nothing, no clothes, just the clothes that on my back and whatnot. On the way back, train broke down, was 3 hours late, missed the flight. The next flight was 12 hours later. That flight got canceled in London. So I had almost 20 hours in the London before I could get on the next one back into the States. So just the trip home was over 40 hours in airports, just from flights canceling. Yeah, on the way there, I had some trains that I hopped on that didn't end up working. Had to get on a different one. I had, this is more, I guess, not really the travel experience, but phone stopped working overseas. So it was interesting trying to look something up or call someone to figure out what I was going to do with the login and whatnot. So that's kind of the gist of it anyway.
But did you, besides the canceled train, did you enjoy the time in Italy?
Oh, Italy was great. Went to 4 different places in Italy. I would say Florence was my favorite.
No, good choice. That's my hometown. So
okay,
good answer. Maybe you did your research before you came in. Who knows?
No, I didn't know that.
But it's interesting because I would say usually travel would be a little more smoother. But my big tip is when traveling overseas, don't check your equipment bag. So always carry on your equipment bag. Maybe check it on the way home.
Okay.
But there's so many instances. I remember just even top level pros you see at World's Strongest Man will check their equipment bag and not have it going into the competitions. And these are either like Worlds, Arnold's, Rogue Invitational, and it's just crazy how many times they make that mistake in terms of just not checking their bag. So of course that's a big tip I always mention. So Joseph usually chimes in, but he had a good question here. He wants to know how you got so fast. My guess is your athletic background. Of course, after watching your football highlight tape, you ran right up the middle, and of course you had great breakaway speed. But what are you still doing a lot of do a lot of sprinting, a lot of running in your training, or what do you attribute your speed and athleticism to?
Even after football, I kept up with my training. I actually did some running work. It was more so your 300-meter type workouts and stuff like that. So my agility and my athleticism continued even after my football. And then going into Strongman, that was something we worked with Roadhouse, was keeping that up and then improving on sets. And we've kept that up the whole time. We'll do foot ladders. Even in the off season, there's not a time when we're not doing some type of run. Even if we're not training for a show, we're doing bag work or, I do bike work constantly, stuff like that. So I think a combination of all those has kept up my ability to move. I also think it's important with the moving events. There's certain things that even if you're not super athletic, that you can do to help yourself just by hips turning, stuff like that will help you pick up your speed. Running from the bag to the next implement is actually going to save you more time than running a little bit faster with the bag, stuff like that.
Sure. Absolutely. You mentioned a lot of biking. Is this are you doing like the assault bike, or are you doing actual like a physical road bike?
I've done both. Actually went to sound weird, but I actually went to a school where we got hands-on training and actual bike course and stuff like that, and actually really learn how to use a bike, not just your typical bike riding. And so I've kind of kept that up. But I would say mainly 90% with the assault bike, but definitely road bike also.
All right. Interesting. But the whole cardio aspect is something I got away from, especially during this weight gain, because you don't want to do too much cardio when you're trying to gain weight, but you still have to maintain some sort of athleticism. The 105 days was a certain level of cardio. Now I'm trying to reinvent myself, so I'm always pretty interested. I was watching something along the lines of Mitch Hooper that he likes to do like 1 kilometer a day or probably every other day in terms of like running on the treadmill. I was I've other guys like Frankie Pro was a big, even of course let's keep talking about Frankie. He was big into doing sprints. Of course, kind of during his peak of strongman, and then there's but the different ladders I think is a pretty interesting piece. But I would say for the most part, it's just really hard to, I think it's really hard to develop that top end strength, but I think overall it's pretty important. But here we'll take another. Of course, I have one final fan question, which is a pretty good one. But go back to Joseph Tower. Have you ever done / how are you at truck pull? So any truck pulls in your career so far?
So I've done 3 truck pulls, and I absolutely love them. That's one that I would actually put in my ideal show. I forgot about. That's an event that I would be a must in there. I love truck pulls. I'm trying to think if I lost one. I'm sure. I think I lost one. I did. I lost one to Blake Kendall at my very first Battle Axe competition.
Blake Kendall
did ASM.
The
Yep, he did ASM last year.
Right.
Not this year. He did it last year, and he placed second, I believe, at Arnold and Nationals in 2023.
Right.
Behind.
Yes. All right. I remember. He has a great grip. What I remember.
Very good grip. Yes.
But it's interesting because the very first OSG 2017, there was a max log and a truck pull within the 6 events. So that was probably one of my favorite OSGs, just because there was finally a max. I know, of course, he's done different things to change around it, but we had a truck pull in the final. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It was a very fast truck pulls, like the times were all split up by like a second or so, but it was still, I would say it was still pretty fun event. But speaking of OSG, so Joey Schofield, he mentioned that he wants to hear a little more detail around your stone run last year. So supposedly you banged yourself up and got a little injured before in the contest prior to going into the stone run. So once you elaborate on the story.
So day one was carrying we had that frame into the Denny stones, and with the first pick of the frame, my belt started digging into my stomach. You know, you're trying to block out the pain. I drop it because of the pain, and I continue it. I finally finish, and when I go to step out of that frame, I know something's wrong. I get this horrible pain that's in my stomach. I can't breathe. I can't push out my stomach. I go in the back and I see the medical team, which was amazing, by the way. And he's like, "Yeah, you have a hole in your stomach. You got a torn oblique." He said, "You can continue the show and it won't get worse, but your pain level will be intense. But the tear is not going to get worse." And I said, "Okay, so we're going to do it then." And finished day 2 with it, and then day 3. And I would say day 3 didn't really have any, stomach, any stomach power. And so it kind of hurt me, but I think with stones, I had enough, emotion and adrenaline going into that, I did my best to cut it out, and, it cut out the pain anyway. So yeah, that was kind of.
I think I do remember. I thought for some reason it was a lat, but
yeah, but they kept saying back or something like that.
That would have hurt. Oh, interesting, but of course that's a lot of times. It's that, of course, those gutsy performances that makes you feel even better when you go into a competition fresh. So of course, it's always a good way good way to persevere and to test yourself. So I always say we've been pretty positive on the show, but like in the world of strongman and all, is there anything that gets you going? Is there anything that grinds your gears, or do you have any pet peeves in the world of strongman or gym lifting or Instagram culture?
So a little bit in strongman, and people don't normally do this because they're, mean or pricks or anything like that. But when someone says they're going to be, better than you, or they come up to you and it's like, by next year I'll beat you, and they're starting from scratch from their first year in strongman. I know they're not meaning it that way, but it kind of takes away from how much hard work it actually takes to be where you're at. And, just the respecting of where people are at. And, I know even for me going into my first OSG, I knew just from being there how much work people put in and what it took to be able to get there and what it takes to continue to go up there. And so I would just more so say just the realization and the actual noticing of what kind of effort it takes to actually be on that top level. But other than that, I'm a pretty mellow guy. Other than when I compete, I get pretty energized. But other than, without competing, I'm pretty mellow and pretty chill and pretty much talk to anyone. I love conversating, and, you get along with most people. So,
going back to that. So someone came up to you in the contest, say like he'll beat you next year, and that's never done. Is that pretty much more aligned?
Yeah, I mean, it's even happened in our gym. They come up and even in our gym, it's like, yeah, I know you've done OSG, but wait till next year, and they haven't even won a novice show or whatnot, and you just smile and you're like, man, I hope you do. Yeah. But
it's almost kind of like, it's almost like imitation is flattery, right? They want to be where you're at. So of course, as much as it kind of grinds your gears, of course you're doing something right that they want also. So it's
and it's funny because I don't even think of myself as the one to look out for. I'm still chasing people. So, to me, I'm nowhere close to where I think I can be, or I think other people are. So, for me, hearing that, it's just like, wait till you see some of these other guys. Like, they're a lot better than I am. But that's just kind of how
I would say. But so far you're undefeated this year. So let's see if that continues streaks. So of course we're kind of getting to the very end of the podcast. So if you guys have any kind of last minute questions for Alec, I'll put it in the comments now. But of course, a good question is kind of looking into the future or just looking in general. But when everything's said and done, what are you looking to accomplish in the world of strongman?
So when I first started, I didn't have any expectations at all. It was going to be a hobby. I was going to do it for fun. As I started doing it, I noticed that I could be competitive. And I would say after my first OSG, my goal was, just next year make top 10. Well, last year I had the itch and I was like, there's definitely someday I want to win this show. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power to be able to win this show. This year, that's definitely a goal. When I started before the Shaw, my thought was I would be really happy if I could make top 5. I think that'd be really cool. After the Shaw and after this training, my expectations, I really do think I can make podium. So that's my goal. But overall, I would say OSG, I really want to win OSG. And I would like to come back and win the Shaw for sure. The others, I'm not sure on the other shows or what else I would like to do. I'm open to a lot. And so I haven't set really hard goals with the other shows, but, I'll take them as they come. We'll see what it brings to me next. But
absolutely. Well, of course, what we look forward to either way. So we have your Instagram. I'm going to have it for the recorded episode. I'm going to have it in the description below so people can follow you and follow your journey and see how your last your last chance workouts happen before OSG. But are you on any other social medias where you post your training or your journey?
No, OSG is it. I used to have another platform, and I haven't posted on there in 2 years. I haven't gotten on TikTok in 2 years. And, Instagram, everyone sees what I do. I'm not really the type to hide it or not post. I post my good days, post my bad days, I'm pretty open on there. So my other competitors can kind of see where I'm at and what I'm doing. I don't hide a whole lot. I'm pretty open, and what I do in training, I'll do in the comp. So I don't get worried about it or anything like that. I just kind of post. I enjoy it a lot. Instagram really doesn't have a head game with me. So, I enjoy watching the other competitors do what they do. And, so I just kind of post the same, it's just more of an enjoyment for me, but, it doesn't mean a whole lot. Competition day is when it all's on the line. So,
you and Seth ever plan on maybe making a brothers YouTube?
We've talked about it, actually. I would love to. Honestly, I think it would be a lot of fun. I think we could get some attention just being, he has a little bit longer in the sport than I do, but 3 and 4 years in the sport, both competing at a high level. I think our YouTube would do all right. It's just, hunking down and, making that decision to finally do it. So find us maybe a cameraman or something like that. But I'm sure it will happen someday. We just gotta decide when.
But even iPhone videos go a really long way.
Okay.
I've done a lot of vlogs and a lot of training compilations just using iPhone. And I find there's also some good deals on just video cameras on there. So it's always just easy just to kind of start simple and kind of see what works and find your niche in terms of what you like to kind of put out there. But also it does help with sponsors, which will help kind of keep you in the sport as well. But speaking of sponsors, thank you Tsunami Bar for again sponsoring the show. So of course we're really excited for Alec. Of course the show will be live, and of course I post another recording soon. But of course this weekend I'm heading out to BG Strength, so I have a seminar. So for any of your friends in Kentucky, if they're in the area, it's gonna be a great seminar. So my overhead press seminar. So, but I'm also looking to do some stuff with Justin Loy. So I'll give you a scouting report on Justin after this weekend. See how I
already know how Justin is. Justin's one of those that posts all his terrible stuff and says he's doing terrible. I'm like, no.
He's very sneaky. He very is. So I was mentioned before. But I was mentioned before, so at Guardione next week, Brian Kitchen in the future, and then we'll see who else I can get on the other OSG competitors before the big show.
Awesome.
But again, thank you to all the members. Thank you for everybody. And then of course, one bit decent announcement. In a week or so, I'm coming out with Canby shirts. So my buddy, you remember Mike O'Connor, right? You competed with Mike.
Oh yeah.
So coming out with Canby shirts. So there's I have a few coming out. So coming on soon. But keep a look at those. Those will come out on Odd Objects in a week. But again, I appreciate coming on, Alec. And then to finish off the show, what's one piece of advice you want to leave the listeners?
I would say, follow what you enjoy doing. If this is a sport that you like doing, don't let the competition or how you do or you not, getting to where you want, put you down. Continue pushing forward and the thing that you're doing because you love it. It's going to make your life better. I believe that it will make your, home life better because you're putting in towards effort into something you love. So just continuing doing that, overall, I think it's good for you, good for your body, good for your mental health. So.
Awesome. Great words of advice, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And until next